Alright guys, we've got a live game now, and I've got my opponent's rated just around 1,000 in Rapid, 1,001, there we go. And we're playing the Scandinavian Modern. So I've offered my pawn, White's accepted the pawn, and now I've taken back. Oh, that's interesting. That's a new one on me. Okay, so we're going to be looking out for what are the common errors that players around this level are likely to make. So I'm wanting to develop some pieces. Ooh, okay, that's already an error because I can capture the knight, and if bishop captures my knight, I can recapture with ease. So there you go, right away in the opening. 20 seconds used of a 30-minute game, and it's not looking good. Okay, so now I've got two options. I mean, my bishop could capture, but also I can develop my queen and capture the bishop. So now I've got two pieces out on the board, and importantly also I've got pieces looking down at g2, which is pretty scary because that means that White would lose a rook. There we go, capture g2. I don't think White has any way of defending this now. Queen out would just drop the queen. That's no good at all. Oh dear. I wouldn't blame my opponent if they chose to resign at this point already, because they really are totally on the back foot. But I think the case in point is you're playing a 30-minute game. You've got to, for each move, say, okay, like after this, okay, if I play that move, what's going to happen? And the answer is, in this case, okay, let's say I go out there, black captures, and they've got two defenders of the knight. So it just doesn't make sense. Okay. So we've got pawn out now. Okay, a second pawn now hitting the queen. So I could, for example, I could capture this pawn and then take the rook on the next turn. I could play a check, which White will then have to block, and then take the rook on the next turn. I can also check here. That could be blocked by the bishop. So let's just play a normal move. Check there. So I'm expecting knight or bishop to come out and block. Either way, I can grab the... Alright, that's fine. I'll take the queen. Happy to swap off queens this early on and take the rook. So I'm actually 9 points up right now. So I've got an extra rook and 2 extra minor pieces. So now it's game on. White is going to have to dig very deep. Very deep now. Yeah, actually no, I have an extra rook and 1 extra minor piece. Alright, so let's just push the pawn. The pawn's under attack there, so there's the only way really to defend it would be I could move my knight to a6 or move my king. I don't really want to move my king, I want to be able to castle soon. So now that's a discovered attack on the bishop, so let's move the bishop. I'm just going to move it here and kick the knight. Here we are, kicking the knight away. Knight comes in. This is not a threat, so I could, if I want, kick the knight again. Or what else? Is there anything more evil than that? Yeah, let's just kick the knight. Knight can't move here. If it goes there, bishop takes. If it goes there or there, bishop takes. I think the knight's pretty much trapped itself there. So I was hoping this was going to be a longer game than it's turning out to be, but they could be famous last words. Let's see what my opponent can do. Right, he's attacking my bishop. That's not a problem. I can capture his knight with a pawn with a further attack on his bishop. Okay, so he's now lost another piece. Now he's down to a king and a rook against a king, 2 rooks and 2 minor pieces. But he's soldiering on, to his credit. Right. I want to bring out my knight now or my bishop. Let's play knight to here. This is an unrated game, so my opponent doesn't have too much to worry about. Alright, so if rook takes there, I'm just going to grab this pawn, I think, with check. King has got 4 options. Let's grab another pawn. And let's just grab another pawn. So turning into a complete pasting, unfortunately, which no one likes to see. And doesn't make for a good instructive video either. And there we go. So the king has now moved on to the same rank as the rook, which now enables me to skewer the king. We must move off to one side, and well, that was just terrible. The king should have moved to either of these squares where it could at least recapture. And still my opponent doesn't resign. It's like, I like pain. Bring it on. So now the king should move there, yeah. Otherwise it gives up still more material. Okay, let's bring my other rook into the game. Remember, my knight is defending the rook, so I shouldn't move the knight until I've moved the rook. Alright, move the rook out of the way. I don't have any checks with the knight in this arrangement. It would be 1, 2 moves to get a check. Or 1, 2. Another option I've got is like knight to here, and then I've got 2 attackers on this pawn. I can also move my rook to c5, where it's defended by the knight, and then either of my rooks could capture that pawn. And we could move towards a swift ending. But really, for somebody rated 1000, rushing those opening moves just doesn't make sense. It's so common. So often we see this. Beginners playing a 30-minute game. So with a 30-minute game, you should be spending at least 5 minutes on the opening. I would give myself the first 10 minutes for the opening. Really take your time, because you don't want to be playing catch-up at the start from the very start of the game. You want to make your opponent have to work for an advantage. Maybe 10 minutes for the middle game, 10 minutes for the ending. That's the kind of way you should be thinking about it. Right, my opponent sent me a message. He says, I made a huge mistake at the beginning. I didn't know how to play this opening. Do you want me to quit? Okay. So you need to follow opening principles. She says, I don't have much to do there. Or words to that effect. Okay, the rooks are... Let's move the pawn. The rook's safe. I can now bring out my bishop, and I can also check there with the knight. And the easiest victory here would be to bring my rooks to the side of the board and then squeeze the king up. Okay, so let's just make a run for it. Get a queen. Might be the quickest thing. Just suggested another game. He's got ideas of running away, so if I move my knight here, blocks off this one. So I think we'll carry on from this with another game. Now I think that will be the end. Yeah, won by checkmate. Okay, we'll do a rematch. Okay, so I'm going to play simple chess here. Melanie is it was immediately put off by the Scandinavian defence, which I don't think is too uncommon. Okay, so she brought out the bishop. That was a John Bartholomew noise, wasn't it? All right, let's. I'm not drinking coffee, not this time of day. John drinks coffee at night. So he's a monster. So we're playing much straighter kind of chess now. My wife gets upset with me when we play. She's just learning and she calls me all kinds of names and claims that I'm pulling out bizarre tricks on her when I'm not. It's just a lot of the time just good principles. Okay, bishop out to here. Still look, she's almost completed development within 30 seconds of a 30-minute game. Now the knight is pinned against the queen, knight cannot move. But I can't attack it with a pawn, I can attack it with another knight. Because then if I can get my knight there, I've got ideas of captures. Okay, let's go in there anyway. Still the knight can't capture. And I'm attacking the knight, the queen, and the sensitive c7 pawn. And because this knight is still at home, if I get my knight onto there, okay, that's very poor. That's a double attack on the queen, and also hitting the rook on a8. So a terrible situation here for my opponent. Once again. Where can the queen move? Not there. Not there. Yeah, she's got... and that's alright, but I can now just capture the rook. So this is one of the most fundamental things, right? If you're gonna play a 30-minute game, you have to play a 30-minute game. Don't play a 30-minute game as though it's a 5-minute blitz game. So now, with recapturing with a queen, my knight is now safe to escape. Currently, my knight is completely trapped, can't go anywhere. But here again, I can come back and hit the queen one more time. Could be a song, couldn't it? Could be a song in there somewhere. I like the fact that my bishop is lined up with that king. And what tactics are there? Can't move my knight here, it'll just get taken. My knight is also pinned. So I'm kind of tempted to move my queen there. Alright, so then if queen takes, knight takes, and that's alright. Or there, if bishop takes, I take his queen, her queen. So let's try that and see how she thinks. She's playing just simply too quickly. Okay, exchange queens. That's going to weaken the king, and also my knight is now no longer pinned, which is nice. Okay, I'm going to move my knight here temporarily. And I'm going to move it back into f5, hitting this pawn. Okay, that bishop is currently protected, but I'll drop it back so that if knight takes, I can recapture with the a pawn, and that frees up my rook. Now a7, I notice, is actually defended. But I do have a very nice looking knight fork here. So guys, simply, this is what happens when you fail to take your time over a game. I mean, I'm a lot more experienced at chess than my opponent, so I can play more accurately, let's say, within a few minutes, right? So this is like me playing blitz, but she's playing blitz as well. And there's the fork. She's not spotted the fork, so the rook's going to fall. Okay, just take the rook. Bishop's still defending that pawn, so I need to be careful about that. Okay, I'm going to kick the bishop with h3. I can't play f3 because the pawn is pinned by that bishop. Okay, let's go there. I think this square again is looking very tasty for my knight. Ah, you grabbed the pawn, well done. Okay, so h6 is hanging. This one is defended by the bishop. I might be able to kick the bishop. I can kick it once, but it'll just move back here, and then I can capture the knight with check. And then this pawn is also hanging. So I'm able, because of my experience, to calculate these moves quicker than my opponent can. So, I mean, she should be using her clock a lot better than this. Okay. So now this, no, it's not hanging because it's defended by this bishop. But it's all going to go Pete Tong, and there's another fork because she's put her king and on the same color square as the bishop. And with this arrangement now, it means that I can simply capture. Pawn takes. Let's pin the bishop. So I can spot these tactics a lot quicker than she's able to. So what she has to do is literally slow down. I can't stress it enough. When you move this quickly, you're just practicing playing bad chess, unfortunately. So I've said it over and over again. I'll say it one more time. Everyone should be playing not only the time formats that allow you enough time to examine everything that's going on the board and to pick the best move that you're capable of finding, but you've also got to use that time, right? Don't just allow yourself the time, use it. Again, within a minute of a 30-minute game, she's in a completely lost position. And that really shouldn't happen above 1,000. It really shouldn't happen at all if you're being disciplined about the way that you play. Okay. And now the king's moved away from my rook, so it's not attacked. Now I can just sweep up the pawns. But in actual fact, I've mate in 2. So we've got the same pattern as the last game. This is a pattern everybody should know. So because I've got a major piece on 2 consecutive ranks, when the king is in check, he's forced to move on to the next free rank. And there we go. And let's see if she wants a third one. I'll click rematch. Okay, there we go. Okay, so she's got to slow down. Right, so let's play something completely different. Alright, so she's grabbed the centre, that makes sense. I can play e5. Now if pawn takes, I can recapture with my knight. Alright, let's grab. That's not the ideal move. I mean, I should have left the tension really in the middle. I'm going to swap off my knight for that bishop. I think bishops are likely to have more fun in this game. Bring out my other knight. Bishop's looking there. I'm not concerned at this point. I'm going to play b6. So I could fianchetto to this bishop, but also that then makes c5 possible. Do I have to be concerned about this knight coming in? Either one, then white's now looking at that square. So what do we do about that? Attack the queen. So I don't know if I have time to move my bishop and then castle, do I? How about d5 now? 1, 2, 3 attackers and only 2 defenders. So that's not perfect. Where's the knight wanting to come? Here and here. Both squares are undefended right now, and I can't therefore defend both of them. So let's move the queen to e7. So now I've got ideas of queen takes there. Okay, I've defended that. But I have 2 attackers, remember. 2 attackers on that square. And now I've got the option to play f6 with the pawn covering both of those in one. So recapture the knight. I'm 1 pawn in front, that's all right now. King can't, well, king could move out of check, but it then lose castling rights, and I'm also hitting this bishop. So I think the correct move is that exactly. Well done, well spotted. All right, now I'm going to push that pawn. Do I need to push that pawn? The knight, so the queen is covering that square. Nothing's really covering that square, but bishop to e7. Ah, no, because he's also got the queen on there, so he could come there and attack my queen, but she's thought better of it. Okay, I'm just going to castle now. Okay. Now I'm inclined to play bishop to b7. That looks very natural. Then the knight is effectively pinned because it's in the way of queen g2 mate. I don't think I've got any way of really disturbing that knight other than moving the pawn in front of my king, which I'm slightly loath to do. Let's just move my bishop off the open file and attack the rook at the same time. I have left a pawn hanging here, which I could protect by bishop to c6. So ideally proposing an exchange of queens. Let's do that. That's going to mess up her pawns. And now I also grab the rook. Rook takes bishop. Bishop c6 will just again, guys, just look at the time. That's all I want you to look at right now. 28 minutes still on the clock. So when you've got 28 minutes on your clock, why are you making moves in 10 to 15 seconds each? It just makes no sense. Now if pawn takes, I might take with d, open up the middle. Okay, let's just swap off. When the bishop recaptures, I'm going to have to move this rook. So I'm going to move this rook to the d file. Support my pawn in its campaign up the board. So right now, what am I up? I'm up an exchange and a pawn. That's it. Okay. Let's push the pawn up. Capture. Bishop can't recapture because the pawn's defended. I'm going to try and get that little fellow all the way to the end. He would feel very happy. He would be the star of the day if he gets to become a queen and help win 3-0. Okay. I think I should take. I don't want to get surprised with a promotion on there. Alright, let's do that. I think bishop really should capture now. But again, it's not a comfortable position for anybody. Or even king to here. Then if pawn promotes, rook takes, and if rook takes, king takes, but it's still looking like curtains for white, unfortunately. Another option I have is maybe rook to d8 with check and a fork on the rook. Then if rook takes, okay, yeah, she's made the right move. I think that was good. Best of a bad bunch. Alright, now I'm going to move my other rook there to the 7th rank. Rooks are great on the 7th rank. Now before I did that I had to check, excuse the dogs, that's somebody turning up at home. Okay, so I had to check that this rook couldn't go straight to the back rank with checkmate, but it can't, so let's grab that pawn with check. Alright guys. Okay, I'm just going to create myself an escape square now. Alright, the name of the game now is not losing. Okay, that's actually quite good. I'm going to move here. And okay, so if I go here, king's got 2. I'm going to try and squeeze this part of the board, see if I can get a checkmate in the middle of the board. So the king now can't go there. Okay, so with this, and now I think that would be checkmate if I get that move in. There we go, check and mate. Thank you very much. Okay, so there you go. 3 games against a player rated 1001. Yes, they're unrated, which is thankful. But really, I mean, there couldn't be a better case study just to slow down. And especially if you're playing somebody who's higher rated than you are. You really need to take your time in those situations. It's an opportunity to learn. It's an opportunity to play better chess than you normally play. But bottom line is that we should all remember, whatever time format you're playing, use the time that's on your clock. Right? If you make bad moves simply because you rush, then what can you expect? You're going to lose, and you're simply not going to improve either. You need to take as long as you need to find the best move that you are capable of finding. And if that means playing 60 minutes, play 60 minutes. Right? It's as simple as that. If you play too quickly, you are just practicing playing within the scope of what you already know. And to improve at chess, you need to be on the edge of what you know. You need to be discovering new things, thinking about new ideas, thinking one step deeper, one step beyond what you normally do. Right? That's how you improve. And you're not going to do it by finishing games within 5 minutes. It doesn't matter what time format. You know, she's playing blitz, but in a rapid. Go figure. Okay, so salient lesson, I think, for all of us there. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't subscribed, and I'll see you soon.